This
Joining
conference
Sai.
will now be recorded.
Sai, are we still waiting for someone or that's it?
We can start. Yeah, another guy need to join. He'll join. Yeah, we can start now.
Okay, great. So I'll start with my
Yeah.
introduction first. So hi everyone. My name is Nikhil. I've been working with SAP solutions since quite a long now. Uh, Done quite a few implementations as well as support and enhancements and developments and a lot of other stuff. So my core is obviously logistics and related to warehouse, and also that's where I have put in a lot of focus in, and yeah, that's what we're gonna discuss today, and probably in later stages as well. So that's about me. You can maybe give your bit of introduction and your background also, please, if you know anything about WM or what exactly you are currently into. That would help.
Hey
So
Nikhil,
we can
this
start.
is
Yep.
Kumar. Yes, I'll start. I have I have background in warehousing solution, and especially in EWM. My
Mhm.
whole purpose to do this course is to understand the technicalities on the config side in SAP WM. But
That's
I
good.
know the processes on WM. Yeah.
That's good. So you have you worked on WM as well, Kumar?
No.
Okay. Okay. That's all right. So I think that would be pretty easy for you. When we'll be
Correct.
discussing
Yeah.
things, it will be easy for you to understand. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, business process wise, I am good. It's just the configuration and other technicalities.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, Vijay.
Hi, Nikhil. Yep, I have an IT background, but can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. But I have no yeah, experience in SAP per se. But I've been in the IT field for a while.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to see if I could get into SAP. That's all.
But do you have supply chain or logistic processes knowledge? I mean, not SAP, but otherwise.
Not little bit, but not. I
Okay.
mean, there may be novice level.
That's all right. Okay. Yep. Thanks for that, Surya.
Thank you. Look forward for the demo.
Yeah, hi all. So I'm a SAP MM consultant as of now. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like I have a domain knowledge on warehouse processes because before this IT field, I was in manufacturing firm. So yeah, but there we are not using any specific tool or application. There is
Okay.
basic ERP basically you can say. But yeah, overall like the domain experience I have in the warehouse and from the SAP side, not on the warehouse, yeah, on the MM side.
But you do know SAP, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's good. And I think we also have Sachin now in the call. Hi, Sachin.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, hi,
Uh,
Sachin. This is Nikhil. I'll be taking the demo today. So, can you tell us a bit about yourself, your background in SAP WM or any other technology you're working on or module?
Actually, currently I'm working as a SAP MM consultant.
Mm-hmm.
But since last 1 year, I see the WM issue as well.
Okay.
I have a idea of WM.
Okay, so you do know WM processes and do you have idea about WM configurations and all as well? Do you deal with that as well?
Yes, yes.
That's pretty good. Then probably it would be a piece of cake for Sachin and Kumar because I think they know a lot of stuff already. So thank you guys for the introduction. What I could see if we would be continuing with the same group, we need to go with a kind of mix because we have Vijay who doesn't have any understanding about SAP. So obviously we need to take care of that as well. So initially we'll go a bit slow so that Vijay can catch up with SAP screens and all that stuff. And we also have Surya, who is MM consultant but doesn't know about SAP WM. So obviously we'll discuss about the basics of WM as well. initially to start with, and then probably we can jump on to configurations, and later on we'll also execute business processes and all, how system really works, how it is integrated with other modules, and finally, what we can do is I can take you through some business processes like business requirements and all, how exactly business blueprinting can be done and all for warehouse module. And then once we are done with all this, we can also discuss about custom processes. What, for example, 2 to 3 custom processes. What I have built in multiple companies. That's quite common requirement, which usually customer asks for. Uh, we'll also deal with RF functionalities or not. And also, Kumar and Sachin, do you have experience on RF functionalities?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I know a bit of configuration of RF, right?
But
And
you know how to work with RF, right?
yes, yes, the LM transaction I know.
Okay. Okay. Great. And finally, we can also have a kind of assignment to you all once we are done with the complete end-to-end training. So, with the assignment, I don't mean that I would be giving you something to prepare in system. What we can have is I can give you a kind of business requirement, 1 or 2 business requirements, and you can have a kind of logical understanding onto that, what exactly needs to be done, how exactly we can do. So basically, how we create a functional specification, similar kind of approach document or functional specification document you can create, and then we can discuss that as well. What all you thought of, because if we have multiple guys, obviously we'll have multiple solutions and multiple discussions on the same solution, so we can have that. So I think that's how we can cover everybody's requirement here. So okay, that comes later anyways. So first of all, let's start with demo. So Sai, are we good? We can go ahead with the demo now.
Yeah, Nikhil, we can start.
Yes, yes, Nikhil.
Okay. Okay, so give me a second, let me share my screen. Guys, let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes. You can see.
Okay, so
Yep.
quick, yeah, any questions there? Okay, you can go ahead. So to start with, what is WM? So I understand that few of you already know what is WM because we are either working on WM or EWM. But for others, let's start with the very basic thing. What is WM? So whenever we talk about warehouse, there is a basic difference between a non-warehouse organized stock and a warehouse managed stock. Okay, so let's take an example. Okay, I'll come on to the second slide and then we'll talk more about that. So, firstly, when we talk about WM, so first of all, we need to understand in warehouse management what exactly warehouse is. So, warehouse is a space specifically identified wherein we have specific corners, coordinates, names given to those spaces, and which can be entered in the system as well. And if we want to look for a stock, we can directly go to that particular corner of the warehouse or of the building through those coordinates, and we can see that, hey, I need this material, this much quantity, which is available in this particular corner. So that's all about the warehouse, how we are keeping there. Because if we don't have a warehouse, let's say we only have a store, simple store, then in that case, we can keep anything anywhere. But putting that stock inside the stock is not an issue. Problem comes when we need to pick it. Then somebody has to go inside and either they have to remember where they have kept that stock, or they have to look all over the store to find out the stock. Whereas in WM, you can simply punch in some transactions, some reports, and you can find out where exactly that stock is lying on which corner of that particular building or of that particular uh, location. Okay. So in SAP, we call it SAP Warehouse Management. So this was initially started when SAP came with the warehouse solution. So that's when they started with WM. Initially, they had very basic WM, and then they started with other things. Later on, they did not basically replace the WM, but they came up with EWM as well, which is Extended Warehouse Management. Uh, that extended warehouse management is having a lot of new features, a lot of functionalities, which over the years SAP realized that business is looking for, and that's where EWM came into the picture. But currently, also there are a lot of companies which are still using WM, and they'll keep on using WM because of only one reason: because they are running WM since quite long now, and they don't want to upgrade it to EWM because EWM costs some licenses and their processes are already stabilized in WM. So yeah, they'll run their WM system as it is. Uh, as of now, WM from SAP support point of view, they said that they will stop the support for WM for SAP customers by 2025. Yeah, but let's see. Okay, so that's the basic of this. Let's quickly go for the next thing. So, what is the difference between inventory management versus warehouse management? When we talk about inventory management, so I gave you one example wherein I compared a store with a warehouse. So that's exactly similar what we're going to see here. When we say inventory management, that means let's take an example. You go to a shop. In that particular shop, for example, they have two rooms, one wherein a guy is sitting and he's billing and everything is happening there. And behind that particular room, there is another big room where they are keeping all the stock. So in that particular stock, let's say they are simply keeping all the gunny bags and all the packets and all the cartons there without, tagging them to a specific location. So that's how usually in the small buildings or in the small stores they keep the stock because they don't need it. They can easily see and find out the stock. Whereas if we compare that to big organizations, big warehouses or big buildings, they can't simply see and pull out the stock from there. They need a system who can guide them where exactly that stock is lying. Okay, so when we talk about inventory management, it is usually comes along with MM. So MM is material management. So in MM we have purchasing and procurement and all that stuff. And when we talk about plants, storage locations, inventory in the storage location, inventory lying in particular area. So then comes the MM IM part. Okay, so when we talk about whenever we say inventory management or IM, that means we are talking about the stock. We are talking about all the transactions at plant and storage location level. We'll talk about plant and storage location as well in further slides, what exactly that means. Uh, but when we say inventory management, we are not really sure which particular carton is lying in which exact area of that building. Okay, so for example, if we talk about MMIM, and let's say if this is a particular part which needs to be stored in inventory managed system, it would be stored something like this. Okay, so there are no storage bins, there are no tagging. It's just that they are simply keeping the stuff here. Okay, so that's how it simply goes here. So if somebody wants to pull out, he has to look for all the stock, whatever is lying. You can see stacked behind here as well. So there are no racks. There are nothing, available as a part of information which can tell you where exactly this part is lying. Whereas if we talk about WM, so you can first of all map entire warehouse complex at a storage bin level. What exactly is storage bin? We'll talk about that in the coming slides. You can have the complete overview of warehouse, which stock is lying where. You can determine the exact location where exactly that stock is. You can optimize the storage spaces. So when we say optimizing the storage spaces, so let's say we have a warehouse where we keep, or we have, let's say if we talk about this one, so we know that we are keeping some stock here rather than keeping like this, let's say we have a rack lying here wherein we can keep these pallets. So then what happens? Whatever this space you're seeing here, which is empty right now, this can be utilized as well. And then we can say, okay, the pallet is lying on top shelf or on bottom shelf. So that's how WM basically helps you manage or optimize the warehouse. Okay, so how that happens? So again, same mirror. It goes to a box, and then we can also move this box into a carton, and then we can move this carton into a pallet, and then this pallet can be stored inside this rack. Okay, so this is the structure where we have this rack, and when we say storage bin, so this particular space is a storage bin. When we say storage bin X1 V1 C1 or A1 V1 C1. So this is the point where that storage bin lies. Okay, so similarly, we have multiple storage bins and we can stack it in this particular way. So guys, do interrupt me if something is not clear to you. I know I might go a little fast, but if any basic concept is not clear to you, do let me know, and I will repeat that. Okay, so is it clear until now? Difference between inventory management and warehouse management, and what exactly warehouse management or warehouse looks like, how it looks like?
Yes.
Is it? Okay. Okay, so features of WM, what all do we get there? If we implement warehouse management system in our organization or for our client, then how does it look? What exactly it gives us? It gives us a structured warehouse wherein we can have the complete hierarchy, which we are following, complete structure of warehouse. We can manage all the good movements inside the warehouse. We can control the movements. We can have all the inventory managed inside the warehouse rather than lying in one place, dumped in one place. We can have the inventory which is managed within the warehouse. We can print, when you say print tasks, it can be printing of a pick list, it can be printing of transfer order to put away, it can be printing of the label of boxes. Okay, so that all, and then if we have any external systems, we can also have interfaces to the external system with WM. So when we say external system, I'll tell you, when I was working in one of the organization, they were having a system named Cardex. So what that Cardex does, it's an automated storage, ASRS, if somebody knows that. So if it was the automated storage system, wherein you simply punch in the system where exactly you want to store, you put it in a tray, and then in the background system automatically takes care of the most optimized space to keep that particular stock. And that happens in a third party system, not in SAP. And then that information was sent back to the warehouse management system. How we have multiple ways. We can have idocs running in, we can have XMLs using PIPO. So we can have multiple ways wherein system triggers one information, that third party system triggers the information, and it comes to SAP warehouse management system and then updates the SAP warehouse management system with the information that particular box or carton or pallet, where exactly you have kept, what was the quantity, what were the features, everything will be sent to the SAP WM system. And similarly, SAP WM system also can trigger that information through iDocs or through PIPO or other technologies. Using that, we can interface it to a third-party system and we can send the information. Let's say when we want to pick it. Okay, so those are a couple of features what we have in WM. Okay, so now when we say warehouse management, so this, let's say this is a complete building and this is how kind of warehouse would look like. What you can see here, so for example, this particular area, you can see this is for the unloading. So a truck comes in, it attaches their truck outlet to this particular door. This would be a good receiving area. So here they will receive the goods. They'll simply put it here, and this particular area is a temporary area. So this is not where we are storing goods. It's just that when we are unloading the truck, we have to keep that particular stock here so that truck can be freed immediately. Okay, so why we need to do that? Because every hour or every minute, you are asking that truck driver or that company, that logistics company, to keep that truck in your yard or in your parking space. That cost the organization. So let me tell you, I think 10 years back, if you talk about the supply chain, the most of the cost what they were incurring was between moving the stock from one place to another place. All the logistics movement and all, they were incurring most of the cost there, and that's why a lot of applications came in, a lot of new developments were done by SAP, by other developers, other vendors, to manage that and to optimize that. Because if we for example, let's say I want to move a stock, and for that I want, uh, so probably because one of you is working in EWM, they might be knowing about this concept. So whenever we want a truck to be scheduled in one of the door. So for example, this is truck with company X and they say, hey, I want to unload the stock which is scheduled to be delivered to you today. Give me a slot and I will send my truck only on that particular time slot so that neither my time of my driver gets wasted nor you have to pay me extra. So that's kind of a win-win situation for both. So for that, in EWM, if you see, there is a functionality of dock scheduling. Okay, so in that particular case, what we do is a vendor or a company can schedule as per their convenience or as per the available slots. They can schedule a slot, and then only truck will come in the yard and they will, park here, and then unloading will be started. So that way is what happens. This guy knows, the truck driver knows that when he has to come here, and warehouse guys also knows that this particular truck is scheduled on this particular time slot, so they need to be available at that particular time to unload the truck. And this is how they have optimized it. So that's one of the example how things evolved in last around 10-15 years. Otherwise this was a major cost, where companies were, and this cost was nowhere, they were not able to capture it because you cannot add everything into your product cost. So at the end of the day, organizations were paying for this and they were not getting anything from the end customer. Okay, so here you can say this is where it is unloading. When we say put away means whenever we have received the stock, it needs to be moved to the warehouse. So that's what we call a put away. So we are putting it away in the warehouse. So for example, this is the area where we initially put away, which is open storage. It's a kind of open area we're keeping here. And then we are replenishing this stock to the racks. So we can have a replenishment where, we can also have fixed bins and then automatically system can trigger a replenishment or we can manually trigger a replenishment. So for example, this racks goes down in the quantity, this particular stock goes into these racks, and then again, when they want to pick, then they can pick it directly from the warehouse. If they want to pack, then it can go to another workstation where they can pack it, and then this is the area from where they are sending it to the customer, to the end customer. So again, they would be loading it. After picking, it goes to workstation where they pack it, and then it goes to the truck. And then finally, goods issues happen. So this is the, let's say, the office where outbound activities are taken care of. What is cycle counting, and annual counting, that we will discuss later on. These are the type of stock countings of physical inventories which we do and which are available in SAP WM system. Okay, let's go ahead. So when we talk about the integration, SAP WM is integrated with sales and distribution, with RF, like I said, RF handhelds. It is integrated with quality management. It is integrated with production supply, then inventory management, and again we can have third-party systems and all. So it is, uh, whenever you post anything, let's say if WM is implemented in the organization and you do a good receipt, it will affect WM. So you will be able to see the stock in WM as well. How, we will discuss it later, but yes, because it is tightly integrated, you do a good receipt, your stock will be available in WM as well. From sales side, you create an outbound delivery and you pick the stock, it will be available in the sales area as well, whereas you will be able to see the stock status change in WM as well. So that's how it is tightly integrated with the different modules, and it goes parallelly from inbound till outbound. It goes parallelly with each module. So you receive the stock, that's MMIM. As soon as good receipt is done, WM comes in picture. When you do a quality inspection, WM is there. Whatever you change the stock, either accepted or rejected in quality inspection, that triggers a posting change in WM. Then production requires that raw material, so it triggers a pick list. Uh, Again, the stock needs to be moved from warehouse to the PSA, production supply area. Production produces the stock, goes or does the back flush, then it goes to, it converts to finished good. Finished good needs to move to the outbound area, to the finished good store. It goes to finished good store. Customer requires a delivery, then against a delivery we create a pick list. Again, from finished good, we pick the stock, we move it to the outbound area or to the staging area, and then it goes to the gets attached to the delivery, and we do the goods issue. So in end-to-end process, we have WM, which is running parallelly with all the modules. So that's how tightly integrated it is. Okay, there are some interim areas. So like I said, whenever we are receiving the stock, so for example, we did a good receipt. So first of all, try to understand one basic concept in WM. Whenever you do any change in the stock, either in IM or SD or PP, wherever you do any change, the same change will happen in WM as well. Why? Because at the end of the day, all all the stock what we have in SAP, either at IM level or at WM level, that should match in the system. And to make sure that this particular stock matches in IM and WM, what system does whenever there is a IM posting. So, for example, you did a good receipt, but obviously you haven't yet decided where to put this stock inside the storage bin, in which storage bin it should go. So, WM activity is still pending. So, just to make sure that WM activity, until WM activity is completed, the stock is same at WM level as well as at IM level. System keeps the stock at this particular storage type. What we call this as interim storage types. So these are all the interim areas when WM activities are still pending or IM activities are still pending. The stock lies here, and these storage types, the stock inside these storage type can be a positive stock or negative stock. So when we receive something, system puts a positive stock in this. If we issue something and do not do the WM activity, so for example, we are issuing the stock to a cost center and we did not create a transfer order. I'll tell you what exactly transfer order and all is. So we did not do the WM activities. Then what the system does, because it is already reduced from IM level, in that particular case, it puts a negative quantity inside the interim storage area, just to make sure that the complete stock of that particular material matches between IM and WM. Okay, so this particular interim storage areas are very important because without this, WM cannot work. And whenever we usually implement the solution, there is a transaction LX20 which is used to generate these interim storage areas. Okay, so these are not automatically generated, you have to generate it, but yes, it's a simple transaction and you execute the button and it will generate everything. Okay, now the basic cycle, like what I told you, you receive the stock, which is you do good receipt for that, goes to 902, which is the interim storage type, and then you move it to a specific storage. So it can be storage type 001, which is you're saying high rack storage area or a bulk storage or a fixed bin area. And when you need to send it to a customer, you against a pick list, you pick it. It goes to 916, which is again interim storage area. That's the staging area or goods issue area, we call it. We have multiple names for that. Once it goes to 916, then that means the stock is now attached to the delivery and you can go ahead with the goods issue. So goods issue happens and stock moves out of the system. That's a basic cycle what we have between IM and WM. Okay, couple of interfaces, what I just told you. For WMIM interfaces, what happens first of all, we have a purchase order. Against a purchase order, we do a good receipt. Once good receipt is done, we create a transfer order and then we confirm the transfer order. What exactly is transfer order? So whenever we are doing any activity within the warehouse, so for example, if we want to move stock from one area to another area, we want to change the label of the stock. Initially, it was in quality under quality inspection. Now it is moved to unrestricted stock. For every such movement or every such posting change, system triggers one document in the background, which we call it as a transfer order. We can trigger it in the background. We can also create it in foreground manually. So that's up to us. But for every movement, whenever stock gets changed or stock gets moved, transfer order is a must. Without transfer order, that particular transaction cannot happen. Okay, so here after good receipt, we need to do a put away. That means we need to put the stock in the warehouse area. So we create a transfer order, and once transfer order is created, we need to confirm that as well. So what does that mean? First of all, system captures the details which stock needs to be picked from where and needs to be moved to which particular area. And once you confirm that transfer order, that means that particular movement, what was captured in a transfer order, is confirmed. That means physically it is moved, and user has confirmed that yes, I have moved the stock, and now no more further action on this transfer order is required. Okay, similarly for WMSD, we have a sales order, outbound delivery. Yep,
Nikhil?
questions? Yep.
Yeah. So where we are doing this good receipt in SAP MM or like in WM?
So like I said, this until this good receipt, it is IM part. Okay, so WM doesn't really work for any good receipt thing. The transactions are saying like you can use Migo, MIGO, which is again a MMIM transaction. You can also have the ASN. If you have a ASN, then it will generate an inbound delivery, and then against the inbound delivery, you'll do a good receipt. So until good receipt is done, it is still you're working at an IM level, because that is only talking about the storage location and the plant. Though the warehouse number would be specified there. So if you for example, you checks the inbound delivery, you'll see a plant, you'll see a storage location, and you'll also see a warehouse number. And then inside the inbound delivery also, you can track the activity if WM activities are done or not. But first of all, good receipt would be done at IM level, and then you would do the WM activities thereafter.
So inbound delivery is mandatory here or not?
No, it's not mandatory. Inbound delivery is mandatory only if you're working with handling units. So if you work with handling units, you have to have an inbound delivery system. If you're not working with handling units, you're only working with storage units, you can work without the inbound delivery as well. And again, it depends on customer. If they are sending the ASN without handling unit also, if they are sending the ASN and they want the inbound delivery in the system, then yes, you can activate that.
Okay. So basically,
Yeah.
what going to be happen? Like once the TO confirmation is done, what
Mm-hmm.
happen in the IM side?
So I'll tell you. So in IM side, when you do a good receipt, for example, I receive material X, okay, 10 quantity. So now with this
Mhm.
10 quantity, as soon as you do a good receipt at IM level, if you see the stock in MMBE, which is at storage location level, plant and storage location level, you will see that 10 pieces are already inside my plant and my storage location. Okay, but because you haven't done any WM activities, where that stock would be? Any idea? We just discussed. So
That
I'm
on
done
the
with the, yep, go ahead.
yeah, you're done with the good receipt, right? So,
Yep.
so it is on the that storage type you mentioned, like interim bins.
Exactly,
In,
exactly. So this stock where you will be able to find that, you will be able to find it in 902 storage type. In warehouse, we call it as a GR area. Okay, so that means the same 10 pieces stock, because we haven't done any WM activities, we haven't yet assigned any storage bin to that stock. So that is why where system has to keep it. System will keep it in the interim storage area. So that stock will be available in 902. Now, when you create a transfer order, what information it consists of is it will tell you from where the stock needs to be picked and where stock needs to be put away. So that means it will tell you the storage type and storage bin. That means it will tell you pick this particular stock from 902 storage type and move it as per our strategies and all what we're going to discuss in later stages. So as per our strategy, it can offer you a bin, or it can propose you a bin that it should go into 101 storage type bin X1A1. Okay, and that source and destination information will be available in transfer order. As soon as transfer order is created, now this particular stock will be logged onto this particular transfer order, and you will be able to see that in the warehouse reports as well, because it will show you some. I have one of the slide there. I'll show you how does it look. It will show you that this particular stock needs to be picked from one area and placed in another area, and that's how it does look. Okay, and then once you confirm the transfer order, then it will show you the stock will be shown. Stock will be out from 902 storage type, and it will be shown inside the warehouse, which is storage type 101 and storage bin X1A1. Same 10 pieces.
okay, so after confirmation of the TO, there is no change on the IM side, so no
Mhm.
alerts or no nothing is there.
No, no change here, because IM has already received it.
So when we
Yeah.
do MRP and all those things, so which stock we do consider, like the IM side
So
or the
MR
W?
Yeah, so MRP considers the stock whatever is lying as unrestricted stock inside the storage location. Okay. So what happens if you want any stock to be out of MRP on storage location level? You can control that. On storage location level, you can exclude that stock, but on WM level, you cannot exclude that stock from the storage type. So, for example, my warehouse is assigned to a storage location 1001. Okay, and if 1001 is out of MRP, then entire stock lying in that WM will be out of MRP. If 1001 storage location is considered in MRP, then complete warehouse stock is considered in MRP. But in one of the project, we had a special request or special condition where they wanted a stock which is lying in one of the storage type. So in 1001 storage location, let's say one of the storage type is 101. So that 101 storage type, the stock lying in this particular storage type should be out of MRP. Now there are two ways to do that. One, you block the stock. You can block the stock within warehouse within a storage type. Okay. As soon as you block the stock, it will be out of MRP. If you don't want to do that, because the condition here, what we received as a business requirement, they said we do not want to block it because we are going to use it, but it's just that until this stock is lying in this particular storage area. So the business requirement was that we have a stock. So they used to paint something, some parts, and then that particular part needs to stay inside a particular specific area, and that particular area, they need to keep that stock for 24 hours so that that paint is no more wet. It's dry and it's ready to use for the further activities. And for some reason, they wanted this particular storage type to be out of MRP. But that was again a complete custom solution. And standard SAP does not allow that. Standard SAP, you can only work with MRP exclusion of the stock at storage location level.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, do MRP run at warehouse level or not? Because
No. That's again on storage location.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
once I do the good receipt, my stock always lying on the unrestricted one. If I have not activated the quality management or something else, it always
That's right.
be in my 1001 storage location or whatever it is. It's always been
Yep.
unrestricted one.
That's right. Like
So
I
that's
said,
what I'm
you can
thinking. Like,
still, yeah, you can still move it out by blocking it. So as soon as you block the stock inside the warehouse, that gets blocked everywhere else in IM as well, and then it is again out of MRP. But yeah, that's not how sometimes business work.
yeah, but that's a customized solution. You mean to say, right?
No,
I
no,
cannot control.
blocking of stock is something which can be done in a standard system as well. What the customized solution, what I said is wherein it was unrestricted stock, but I still wanted to exclude a specific storage type from the MRP. That was a complete customized solution.
Okay, but if there is only one storage location I have within
Hmm.
the plant, in that case, how
Yeah,
can I like segregate the products? I'm just
using
thinking like
warehouse, you're
if
saying?
they, for, yeah, using like MRP. So uh,
Hmm.
I'm just thinking like I have only one storage location, one plant, one storage location, right?
You can't really segregate. So that's what I'm saying. MRP
Yeah.
still works on at storage location level. It doesn't really have to do anything with WM storage types. So when we talk about WM, it only takes care of the current stock lying in the warehouse. It doesn't have to do anything with any valuations. It doesn't have to do anything with MRPs. It doesn't have to do anything with finances. It's a simple thing that my stock is lying in my warehouse or in my building and how exactly currently it is looking like. That's it. MRP still works on storage location. Finances are still out of warehouse management system. Uh, so only the physical stock is like we still cannot. There are no such reports where we can see the past stock lying in the warehouse. So if you say that hey, I want to see, so that was one of the requirement again in one of the engagements wherein they said we want a report similar to the report you have at IM level, wherein you can see the past stock. What was my closing stock in last month? But in warehouse, you can't do that. In warehouse, you really don't have that option. You can only see the current stock. So those are few things which still works at IM level and at storage location level.
So at any point of time, if I want to check my stock, the real stock is always at the IM side, right?
Not the real stock, the past stock. You can
The
check at the
accurate
IM
stock.
level. Yeah, the current
Yeah,
stock
the accurate
that
stock.
would be, yeah, the accurate current stock would be at WM level. So when you have WM, then system usually says that whatever stock is lying at WM level, that is the correct stock.
That is the correct stock.
That's right.
But why? I am just thinking like when I am doing the good receipt on the IM side, it's updated
Yeah,
by storage location, the
yeah.
storage location level.
Hmm.
What I am doing here on the WM side is only placing the goods from one location to another. That's it.
Yes,
So
yes, but there are a lot of movements. So, for example, if you have WM in system, the all kind of physical inventory transaction you would be doing at WM level, right? So, stock taking, for example, your organization runs a cycle count every month. That would happen at WM level. So, if you do not consider the WM stock as the accurate stock, then that cycle count is of no use. Similarly, for example, there are stock postings which we can trigger from WM. So it's the other way around then. We trigger a stock posting from WM and it will affect IM stock. So like I said, there are a lot of things. This is pretty simple, basic thing wherein we are saying that, hey, good receipt happened and then stock came inside the warehouse. When we have warehouse, then SAP says that whatever stock is lying at WM level, that's the accurate stock. If you still don't want to consider that, and if you still say no, my stock at IM level is the correct stock, you go ahead. But there would be only 0.1% chance that your IM stock and WM stock is not matching at any point of time, because that if that happens, that means there is some discrepancy in the data, and there is a report. I believe LX23 is the report. There is a report where you can actually see if there is any difference. But in my complete career till date, I haven't seen even a single warehouse where we have difference between IM stock and WM stock. It always matches because it is tightly integrated.
okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, guys? Okay, we'll move ahead then. Okay, so we discussed this one. Similarly for SD, here, let's say we have a sales order or scheduling agreement or JIT call or GIS call or whatever. So against that, we will always have an outbound delivery. In outbound delivery, once the outbound delivery is created, that outbound delivery holds the exact requirement what customer requires. So once that requirement is fixed, that means in outbound delivery we have that X material is required, 100 pieces is required of this particular X material, which needs to be shipped to particular customer. Then that particular stock needs to be picked from the warehouse. If we don't have WM, then we can simply put in the delivery and we do the PGI, because we can simply mention the stock at plant and storage location level. But because we have warehouse managed system, we have to tell the system from where exactly I want to pick it up. Okay, so system needs to know that. So then again, you need to create a transfer order. Again, system will tell you source this time would be the warehouse location, one of the storage bin in the warehouse, and destination would be again interim storage area, because that's the staging area. So you physically you're picking the stock from warehouse and moving it to a shipping area. So that shipping area is an interim area because that's not holding any coordinates for the storage bins. So system doesn't know what exactly that area is. Okay, so and then it is attached to a delivery. So once it is attached to a delivery, anyways, you will not be able to do any transaction with that particular stock. So that interim area is 916. So as soon as you create a transfer order, it will ask you to pick the stock from warehouse and move it to a 916 storage type. And when you confirm the transfer order, that means all the stock is now moved to the 916 storage type. If you run warehouse report, all the storage units or handling units of stock would be shown in that 916 storage type. And that complete stock would be now assigned to that particular delivery. So you won't be able to use that stock further for any other transaction. Okay, and once that is done, you can go ahead and do a goods issue for that delivery. It will take that stock out of the system and triggers the ASN or whatever documents for the customer and moves the stock to customer. Okay, so next is QM interface. Like I said, QM mostly is for quality inspection. So if we have a QM activated with warehouse management, whenever we receive the stock, if quality management is activated for that particular material, it triggers the inspection lot in the background. Once that inspection lot is created, users or the business users, they can see in different transactions, and they can run the reports against that inspection lot. They have to take care of that stock and the inspection lot. They have to either give a acceptance for that stock, or they have to give a rejection to that stock. There is a sample size criteria, and there are a lot of things in quality module. But we are only bothered about that what exactly happens to the quality stock. So once we receive the stock in quality, until it is in quality, it will be shown as a Q stock. So you will have that indicator Q mentioned against that particular stock. And when it is in quality, we cannot pick this particular stock and move it to a production or move it against a delivery to a customer until that is under quality inspection. Once that quality inspection is done and they say, okay, we accept the complete stock, then that means there would be a posting change triggered in the background, which will change the stock from quality inspection to unrestricted stock. And if they reject the stock, then it will change the stock from quality stock to block stock. And then you can do the further postings as per the business requirement or as per the technical requirements. For WMPP interface, we'll have a production order. Production order will be released, then material staging they need to do. So standard transaction is, I think, MF60, using which they can trigger a transfer requirement. What transfer requirement is? Like I told you, transfer orders tell you what needs to be picked from where and needs to be moved to where. In transfer requirement, it will not tell you it needs to be moved to where or it needs to be picked from where. It will tell you the material and quantity, what exactly is required. Okay, so it will trigger a transfer requirement. Against that transfer requirement, it will create a transfer order. Again, you can create it manually, you can trigger it automatically. Once transfer order is created, somebody has to come physically scan the stock if there is a scanner available, or they have to move it or punch it in the system, and then they physically have to move it to production supply area, and then they need to confirm the transfer order. Okay, so this pick list, they usually business calls it a pick list. So this pick list needs to be confirmed, and once that is done, then that means that particular stock is now in PSA and ready to be consumed against a production order, which we call it as a back flushing as well. So then the production order runs, and that particular production order, once they do a goods issue and good receipt, so good receipt for a finished good and goods issue for the raw materials, then that would be directly consumed from the PSA. So there is a concept behind it as well. There is a master data. I will talk more about that later. If that master data is not available, then it creates problem and all that. So that also needs to be done to make sure that PSA, the production supply area, is connected to the storage bin in the warehouse. Okay, guys, any question till now?
So yeah, Nikhil, just one question. So this
Mhm.
WM is decentralized one or within the same instant? It is.
No, it is within the same instance. So, frankly speaking, nowadays nobody is using any decentralized WM. If they want to use decentralized, I believe EWM is what is being used as decentralized, and that is again quite few organizations are using. What we are currently talking about is WM system integrated in the SAP, and inside S4HANA also you can use the same system.
Okay, so you mean to say like there is no difference on ECC or S4 HANA? You can
Not
use
really.
within.
Rather in S4HANA, there are a couple of transactions which they made obsolete, but you can still use in ECC.
Okay. So once I do the good receipt, so you mean to say like the TO creation will take place automatically? You mean to say? So is
That's up to us. That's how you configure the system. If you want it automatic, so there are ways. So mostly customer, they, I mean, it completely depends on their requirements. So few customers, in my experience, they said that we do not want system to, tell us where this particular stock should go after go to see. We want to decide as per our optimized warehouse where we want to put it. So in that case, you can create that transfer order manually. In few customers, they want that system should tell them according to the strategy where exactly it should go. So that can also be configured automatically in the system. Wherein as soon as you do the good receipt, it will trigger a transfer order and it will tell you where exactly that stock needs to be moved as per the strategy.
Okay. So you mean to say like not every customer use this strategies and all?
No, it completely depends on business requirement how they want. So in most of the customers, they are you know what I can say, they are really specific with the RF processes. Okay, so they want everything on RF. So if you see a customer who is using barcode system in the warehouse, that means he will be very particular about their RF solution. In even in the current project, we have developed almost 100% customized warehouse, where almost every transaction they are running on RF processes on RF gun, and yeah, everything is customized. So whatever they want to do, scan the handling unit, and keep start with whatever you want to do. So that
Okay.
completely depends
So
on business requirements.
so you mean to say like this TO creation and all this needs to be done on the RF itself. That type
Yeah,
of
it
customization you have done.
exactly. So it triggers in the background. So TO creation and confirmation happens in the background. So for example, there is one of the transaction where they can simply scan the handling units, and they can simply decide where that needs to be moved. So in that case, they scan the handling unit, they scan the storage bin, and they just save it. Everything else happens in the background. So I will also talk about function modules, usually what we use, or user exits, what we use to for all such developments. Once we are done with the complete training, I will tell you, list of function modules, what exactly they do, how you can simulate those function modules. So that would really help, because if you need to design a custom process, most of the things would be happening through those BAPIs or bodies or function modules or user exits. That needs to be, you guys need to be aware of that.
Just like what you mentioned. So if
Mhm.
EWM, you mean to say like the advanced version of WM with more features. So in EWM, are they given that scanning this RF functionality from the beginning itself, like from the TO creation and all? Or
So in
still like in the
EWM,
EWM
it's
also
no, I'll tell you.
that
So
needs to do
EWM is not the yeah, so
yeah.
EWM is not the advanced version of WM. EWM as a whole is a different package. Okay, so obviously the basics does not change. If we talk about the logistic processes, that remain same. If we talk about how system works, that good receipt happens, then we can move the stock inside the warehouse and all that remains same. But there we don't have transfer orders. There we have work orders, work tasks, and all that, and we work with all that stuff. In EWM, we have lot of data. So even if you open one of their transaction to do a kind of to create a work task or work order, to see the inbound delivery what you have triggered, you will have a lot of tabs there and you can see a lot of information there. So it is completely different architecture there. But yes, like I said, basics doesn't change. Basics remains the same. If you know WM, it will be very easy for you to switch to EWM. If you know EWM, that's why I said initially that people who know EWM, it will be piece of cake for them to get information relevant to WM, because they already know the basics and business processes. It doesn't mean if you know EWM, you automatically knows WM, and that's the same for the other way around. If you know WM, it doesn't mean you automatically knows EWM. Like I said, both have different architecture. It's just that business processes and basics doesn't change. The rest, obviously, you need to explore the tool.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Any other question? No, then we'll move ahead. So when I was talking about WM structure, so this is what probably most of you knows, but whosoever doesn't know this, whenever we talk about the structure from the logistic point of view, so above this we also have company code and all that stuff, but that usually is taken care of by finance. So we usually don't really deal with that at WM level. We start with the plants. So when we say plants, plants are nothing but a kind of factory or where we have the production happening. So we can say that the building where this production facility is there, we can treat it as a plant. We call that particular facility as plant in the SAP system. So here you can see we have plants 1 and plant 2. Then inside this plant, we can have multiple storage locations. For example, we have a building with 10 big halls. Okay, and you want to segregate your stock uh, accordingly. So you want 10 storage locations so that in the system, if you want to see stock relevant to only one uh, big hall or big room, then you simply put in one storage location in the system with the plant and it gives you that stock information. So that again depends on business requirement and how you are the kind of consulting you are doing with your business partner, that this particular storage location you need one or two or 10 or 20, how many storage locations you need. Okay, and accordingly you can segregate the stock. So like one of the example for this is recently what we were discussing about MRP. So if they say that, hey, we have 10 big rooms, but out of those 10 rooms, I want 3 rooms to be excluded from my MRP. Then you can straightforward say, okay, these 3 rooms, we can have separate storage types for these three, or we can have one storage location for these three, or we can have one storage location for these three and one storage location for rest of the rooms. How do you want to segregate it? If you are fine with that, okay, it's okay for us. If you say no, out of those 7 leftover rooms, 3 rooms I use for raw material, 2 rooms I use for semi-finished goods, and rest of the rooms I use for finished good, and I want my stock to be segregated between these three, so that whenever I want to see the stock status, I can simply run the report, and if I'm running it for raw material, I can simply fetch that report. Then you can say, okay, let's have one storage location for raw material, one storage location for finished good, one storage location for semi-finished goods or WIP materials. But that is when we are talking about plant and storage location at IM level. So now let's say they say, hey, that is fine for us, but we also need warehouse management system implemented in our organization. So in that particular case, again, now you have to decide these all storage locations will have one warehouse number, or we need to have multiple warehouses for this, or do we really need these many storage locations, or we can simply keep 2 storage locations, one for non-MRP relevant, one for MRP relevant, and then we assign a warehouse to both these storage locations to different warehouses, or we can segregate the stock again, and then inside that warehouse we can say, if you want to run your report for raw material, these many storage types you put in your report, and this will be only for raw material storage types, you can run the report. So it completely depends how exactly your business wants the system, or what are the business processes which you need to implement in the system. If you see here, what they have shown here is we have 2 plants. There are 3 storage locations for this. And then out of these three, one is not at all assigned to warehouse. That means, let's say I'm only keeping here the packaging material. I don't want to keep that packaging material as part of warehouse, because I really don't want to do that, movement of stock and here and there and stuff, because I directly consume it in against my production order. So for that, we don't want this particular storage location to be mapped to warehouse. We only need these 2 storage types to be mapped to warehouse. And they say, I have 2 plants, but I only have one big building where I keep stock from both the plants. So in that case, they'll only have one warehouse. And then inside that warehouse, they have different storage type, and they can segregate the stock accordingly. And within those storage type, they have the storage bin, okay, where they keep actual stock or actual pallets. And when we say IM, what is IM? What is managed by inventory management? So this plant and storage location is managed by inventory management. But when we talk about storage type, warehouse, storage bin, and all, then it comes under SAP warehouse management system. If SAP WM is not implemented, only this part will be available in the system. So in that case, you will not be able to segregate as per storage type, or you will not be able to get the information where on which storage bin this particular stock is lying. Okay, you will only have option when you implement W. So that's the organization structure usually. When you start with the business blueprinting, that's how you have a lot of workshops. You discuss with your customer. You see how exactly things are working currently in their current solution. What exactly is their requirement? Is there a possibility that we can optimize the solution for them? Or is it that there is something specific which is not available in standard, but business do need it because that's their current process? So all that stuff needs to be discussed thoroughly again and again, and then we finally design the business blueprint, which says what exactly is the requirement, how exactly we'll be implementing it. Okay. Other ways for warehouse structure, we have two plants, we have two storage location, and one storage location is assigned to one warehouse number, another storage location is assigned to another warehouse number. Similarly, case 3, which we have already discussed, two plants, storage location, everything is inside one only. Okay. Okay. Couple of questions here. Probably, if any one of you can guess, can we have two warehouses in a given plant? Guys, anyone?
No. No.
So on the basis of storage location, I think you can differentiate, right? If
Yeah, you
one
can.
plant, two storage
Yep. So
you
that's the
can.
answer. You're right. Like I said, we have two different storage locations for the same plant. We can have two different warehouses as well. Okay. So that completely depends on business. Next question, can we have a warehouse cutting across two plants? So the
So
answer
you
is
mean to
yes, you
say
can. We have just seen it
same
here,
warehouse?
right? Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, this
yeah,
one,
yeah.
two plants cutting across the same warehouse is cutting across the two plants. Right? So we do have that option. Does warehouse have accounting implications?
No, you mentioned right. No
Yeah,
accounting
that's right.
and nothing.
That's right. So it's completely purely stock handling. So guys, these are a couple of questions, usually very basic ones. If you have, you don't have, let's say if you only have 1 or 2 years experience or 3 years experience in warehouse management system. So, in your interview also, people can ask such questions just to confuse you. How exactly you see or what all business processes you have worked upon, and then they can ask this. So this particular question, this one, I have also asked a couple of times in a couple of interviews wherein I try to give them options. I try to tell them, hey, I'm doing the I want to issue particular stock to my cost center. You're saying that in warehouse you don't have any accounting implications, but you're saying that you're picking the stock and moving from the warehouse, then at the end it is generating the accounting entry. Then how warehouses doesn't is not having this accounting implications? Warehouse is having accounting implication, right? And then people get confused. So no, warehouse doesn't have accounting implications, because warehouse we are only picking the stock and issuing it against a cost center, but we are not generating any material documents, we are not generating any accounting documents inside the warehouse only deals with stock movements. Okay, right. Next one, does all the storage type necessarily be located in one building? I think this is too early for you guys to answer, so no. So when
No.
we say
Yeah.
physically, yeah, physically it can be, inside the building anywhere, we can have. So we also have implemented solution where we have 6 warehouses in close vicinity, and we did not treated those as 6 different warehouses in the system. We only treated it as one warehouse, and we gave them different storage types, yeah, because those were in close vicinity. Okay, this was the hierarchy, technical hierarchy in system, how system really works. We have, above this we have plant and storage location. Plant and storage location is mapped to a warehouse complex. Warehouse, warehouse is a big room, and try to understand like that. So inside a big room, I split that big room in two parts, storage type 1 and storage type 2. So inside that big room, which is warehouse, we have storage types. Now inside the storage types, I have 3 tables in each storage type. So every table, each table, what is lying at one side of the room and three tables lying on the other side of the room, every table I treat it as one storage section. Why storage section? In some scenarios, we do need storage sections. So, for example, if customer again wants to segregate the stock within storage type as well, then we use storage section. But in SAP, having one storage section in SAP WM, having one storage section is mandatory. In EWM, there is no such requirement, but in WM, we do have a requirement wherein you cannot simply assign a storage bin to a storage type. You need to have at least one storage section in system. So usually, it's the default storage section which people take if there is no such requirement. Yeah. And then storage type and storage section and warehouse is assigned to a storage bin. So whenever we created a storage bin, that means that's the ultimate area where we are going to keep our pallet or box. And then there is a concept called quant. So is anyone of you aware of this quant concept? This is also very important and most of the people get confused here. So I think we also have it in EWM quant.
Yeah, that's right. There's smaller sections within the bin.
Uh, you can say that. Not, I mean, that's not the physical. So quant is not a physical entity. Quant is it's a logical thing, right? So in if you check the tables and all, you'll see the quant number. But uh, basically, what happens? So let's say I have a storage bin and I keep one pallet there, and then again I keep another pallet. But those two pallets are having two different materials. So whenever the characteristics of that stock gets changed, system assigns a new quant number. Okay, so it's basically a number. On this particular number, SAP WM majorly works when you talk about picking and all. So system checks within the storage type, within the storage bin, system checks the quant number. If the initial stock what you kept is having quant number 1, and the next stock which you kept, next pallet you kept inside the same storage bin is having quant number 2, and you want, in the pick list, you want system to suggest you picking from this particular bin, but you say that I want to pick, number 2 quant first, whereas I have strategy FIFO, first in, first out, then no, system will not assign pallet 2 or quant 2 until quant 1 is consumed. So system will work on the quant numbers inside the good receipt, same good receipt date or inside the same bin. Is it clear, or because sometimes it's confusing, and this is again one of the topic where usually when you give interviews they confuse you. Any questions
So
related to quant? Mhm.
yeah, so you mean to say so within the bin there are two different materials or the same material? Yeah.
Two different materials. Well, basically, it's not about two different materials. It's about if the characteristics get changed. So, for example, it's the same material. One material is in unrestricted state. One material is in blocked state. Again, the characteristics are different. System will give you two different quant numbers. Or let's say there is one material, but one of the material is kept today and another material is kept tomorrow. Because there is a change in GR date, there would be difference in quant numbers again. So there are a lot of things which basically, because of which this quant number gets changed. What basically you need to understand is if any characteristic of the stock gets changed, the quant number will be changed. And if you move the stock out of the storage bin and move it to, so for example, I move it from storage bin A1 to storage bin B1. In that particular case also, system will generate a new quant number because for this particular storage bin B1, this will be treated as a new stock. So system will generate the new quant number, and in storage bin A1, as soon as you move the stock out of storage A1, that quant number will be erased from the system. So that happens automatically.
Okay, it is something like batches, you mean to say? Like we have different batch number always.
Not really. No, not really. Because you can have same batch number within the same location or storage bin or storage type as well, right? So here you will. So batch is entirely different concept, because in batch you can have multiple batches within the same storage bin, or you can have same batches into multiple storage bins, but you cannot have same quant number into multiple storage bins. As soon as bin changes, quant number changes. So batch is entirely different. Like I said, it completely depends on the characteristics of the material, and it's a logical entity. It's not something which physically you will see, or physically you will mark in your storage bin, but it's a logical entity. As soon as you change the characteristics of the material, that quant number gets changed.
Yes, whenever make any transfer or any
Hmm.
document generated, like once I did a GR, one quant number will be generated where we have all the details like GR date, material patch, etc. Even we are making any transfer posting or making any transfer order, then one quant number generates which has all the information. Am I right?
That's right. That's right. So like I said, whenever you are picking or put away, you're doing in SAP WM, system actually works with this quant number in the background. So you will not be able to, really do anything about this quant number, because that's auto generated, and auto removal happens for this quant number as soon as you move the stock out. So, but this is something which is a kind of technical requirement, SAP WM is having, and everything works with this quant number in the background. Yeah. Okay, let's
Okay,
move
so,
ahead.
so yeah,
Yep.
just one question. You mean to say that
Hmm.
whenever we do good receipt, at that time the
Hmm.
stock is on the GR zone. So suppose I
Hmm.
did a good receipt of three pallets. So all those three
Hmm.
pallets have different quant number there, right?
Yeah, if those three pellets have the different characteristics. If those three pellets are having same characteristics lying in the same storage bin in GR area, they can have one quant number.
Okay. If they have same characteristics, they are in one quant number.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do try to explore a little bit more about this quant functionality. You'll see. I mean, there's nothing like in the configuration part you will not be doing anything about quant or anything related to quant other than assigning a number range. But logical logically you should know what quant is and why, how exactly it is used. So try to explore a little bit on Google. You'll find a lot of documents, and if there would be any further discussions, we can do that later as well. And so I think we are anyways short on time now, so let's move ahead. uh, okay, it's the same what we just discussed. So warehouse number, storage type is just written there, storage section, criteria for storage section, storage bin, and assignment. This is a kind of rack where, when we design a warehouse, so what we can have is we can have some slow moving stock lying, let's say in the this particular part business. It again depends on the consultant and the business partner how they design it. So if we say that this is the far end, and somebody who wants to pick the stock from here has to move all the way to this particular area and then pick it and then come back, and it takes time. And just to optimize, let's do one thing. Let's put slow moving stock here, so that nobody has to go that far. As soon as he wants to pick fast moving stock, he should be picking directly from here rather than going at the far end. Yeah. So you can have this as a slow moving, this area specifically for slow moving stock, this area for fast moving, and higher ones you can have for pallets and all. So it again depends how exactly you want to store it. Interim storage bins, I think we have already discussed storage types and bins. We can have predefined interim storage bins. We can have dynamic, which I told you, like LX20 is the transaction which is used. We can also have fixed storage bins, wherein we can fix that storage bin in the movement types. This is how this hierarchy works. So, for example, if something which is triggered from IM level, like let's say good receipt, so it comes here to the good receipt area, which is interim storage type, and then using a transfer order, it goes to the final storage bin. If anybody wants to pick it back, then again from here the transfer order will be created, which picks the stock from here, moves to goods issue area, and then goes back. So it's just that they have defined that there are predefined coordinates for interim areas, there are dynamic coordinates, and there are fixed bin coordinates. So in dynamic, we can have a bin number as a purchase order number or cost center. So if we do a good receipt, the stock would be lying in 902 with storage bin as the purchase order number. That's the dynamic coordinate what we can have rather than having a fixed area. Okay, that's what is shown here. Quants, like I've told you, stock with same features within a bin belong to one quant. Quants serve to manage stocks. Quantity can be increased by an addition of existing stock. Quants can be created or deleted solely through goods movement. That's the same what we just discussed. Uh, okay, couple of questions again. Is it mandatory to subdivide storage types into storage sections? No, I told you it is not mandatory to divide it into sub-storage sections, but we need to have at least one storage section for every storage type. That's a technical requirement. Does system provide me a list of empty storage bins? Yes, there are a couple of transactions. You can use LX04, LX01. So usually this question comes mostly from the business users because they want to see how many bins are empty, how much stock is lying on what all bins, what is the capacity load of my warehouse. So yeah, you can do that. Can a bin have different materials? Yes, we can have multiple bins stored in multiple materials stored in different same bin. Can a bin have material from different plants? Yes, like I said, we can have same warehouse extended to both the plants, and then we can have same material stored, material from different plants stored in the same warehouse and same storage bin. Okay, what are coordinates? So sometimes business users do say that we have coordinates. Okay, so when they say coordinates, don't get confused. These are basically storage bins, what they are saying, because when in most of the cases you'll see the storage bins numbered as a coordinates because that basically tells them. So for example, if they say 01/01/01, that means it is the first rack, first row, and first column. Okay, so that's how they will see. First row or first rack, first row, second column will have 01/01/02. So those are the coordinates. So that's how usually sometimes business user says that, from what all coordinates we need to pick the stock. So don't get confused. This is storage bin. They call it as coordinates as well. Couple of T codes or transaction codes, which is used here for creation of storage bin, for creation of interim bins, checking empty storage bins, the stock. So most of the users for the stock reports in warehouse would be using these three: LS25, LX02, and LS26. Very very useful. And these are the so this one is like MMB. So in if you have worked in you'll say whenever you want to see the stock, you usually use MB52 or MMB. So LS26 is like those MB52 or MMB. You'll get almost all the details required. You'll have that in LX02 or LS26. Okay, so these are the stock categories we have already discussed: available stock, inspection stock, blocked stock, return stock if there is any stock coming back from customer. And yeah, so this is what I wanted to show you. Uh, Initially, I told you whenever there is a transfer order created in system, you can see there is a change in stock. So here you can say there are three categories: available stock. So this particular screenshot is of transaction LS26. Okay, so we have available stock, stock for put away, and pick quantity. Available, excuse me. Available stock is the stock which is available in this particular area. So what this shows in STG storage type, for example, in this plant storage location, this is the storage type, and we have 207 quantity of this material available in this particular storage type, and 100 quantity of this material under quality inspection, again under the same storage type. Similarly, they are saying in 902 available stock is 200. In 921, that stock transfer within storage locations, there is a stock of -1. Okay. So, and in total, we have this much of stock. So here you can see quantity of available stock, stock for put away, and stock for picking. That means now here you can see what is happening here. They have moved some stock from one storage location to another storage location. That means, for example, they have moved some stock from warehouse location to a non-warehouse location. So what happens? transfer order is created which says that pick the stock from STG storage type, okay, and unrestricted stock, and move it to another storage location. So when they are moving it to another storage location, IM movement is already done. Now we have to do a WM movement, that's creation and confirmation of transfer order. So here, as soon as you create a transfer order, it will say, hey, pick quantity one from this particular stock in this storage type and move it to here. Where they do they, where are they moving? They're moving on to 921. So I told you, just to balance out the stock, the moment you do the IM movement, it will create a negative stock here. So when we have issued it to the another storage location, system created negative one here because they want to, at the end, they want to keep the stock same. They don't want to keep stock 207 but 206 because that's the same stock what they have at the storage location level. But because we need to settle it out, so while creating a transfer order says pick stock from here and move it to this location. As soon as you confirm the transfer order, what happens, this 921 line will go out of this particular screen, and then here you have 206 stock, and that's it. So this will then match 206 and 300. Okay, so that will then match. So this is how you will be able to see whenever there is a transfer order created, you will be able to see the stock values here, pick quantity and put away quantity. Every time you will see two values. You will not only see pick quantity, you will say pick and put away from where transfer order is picking and where it is asking you to move. Okay, any questions here? Okay, let's move it. Okay, I think a couple of last slides. So very basic difference between handling unit and storage unit. Again, one of the question which I still ask till date because a lot of guys they don't really know the difference between these two and gets confused easily. When we have handling unit and when we have storage unit, we can have both handling unit and storage unit. We can have only storage unit and we can have none of these two in warehouse. Okay, so don't get confused. We can have both. We can have storage unit or we can have none. We cannot have handling unit in the warehouse without a storage unit. Okay, so handling unit, what exactly handling unit is? Inside handling unit, we can have a packing information. That means we can see which packaging material is used to pack that particular stock in the handling unit. Nesting is also possible. Nesting means in the very first screen, I have shown you that material goes into a smaller box. That smaller box goes to into a bigger box, and that bigger box goes to a pallet. So nesting means when you have multi-level packaging. This is what we call nested HU as well. Okay, so we have nesting in handling unit. This is independent of warehouse, so we can retain the information of handling unit across the plants, also across the storage locations as well, across the supply chain as well. And then we only have storage location information at handling unit level. But when we talk, when this particular handling unit moves to a warehouse, so as soon as you do a good receipt for a handling unit and it goes to a warehouse, it gets converted into a storage unit. You can have a separate storage unit number for a separate handling unit number, but that's not the best practice. The best practice says handling unit number is HU01, for example, then storage unit number should also be HU01 so that nobody gets confused between these two. Okay, so usually you don't have to maintain the storage unit number range. If you have maintained the handling unit number range and handling unit is implemented with warehouse management, then as soon as handling units move to a warehouse, it automatically takes the number as HU01 and assign it to a storage unit. Okay, but the only difference is here we had a packing information. In storage unit, we do not have any packaging information. We only know that this is a storage unit. Okay, here nesting is possible. In storage unit, we can't have nesting. We can only have single level. So, for example, you have received a nested HU, which is a multi-level HU. Okay, so inside one big pallet, we have 10 boxes keeping or having 10 pieces in each box. So in total at HU level, you can see, okay, every box inside the pallet is having 10 pieces. Okay, but as soon as it goes to a warehouse, and if you see the warehouse reports or you do any warehouse transactions, it will say there is a handling unit or there is a storage unit and there are 100 pieces inside it. It will not tell you which boxes it is having, what quantity it is having in which box. No, that information is lost. Okay, but that doesn't mean that system does not have that information. System is still having that information at HU level. You can see it at HU level, but inside the warehouse and warehouse reports, you inside this warehouse report, you will only see storage unit, and that shows you only one level. That's the highest level. Okay, storage unit remains only inside the warehouse. So as soon as you issue the stock out of warehouse, that information is out. So that storage unit will be out of the system. You will not be able to track that storage unit further. Whereas in handling unit, that's a possibility. You can track the handling unit end to end in the supply chain. Okay. And then in storage unit, you have the complete information related to the stock in warehouse. Whereas in handling unit, you have location of plant and storage location level only. Okay, so any confusion, any questions, anything till now, because we will be moving to the last slide now. Anything, guys, you want to ask, or you want that this was missing in demo, or this is something which we would be looking forward for in the actual training? I mean, any suggestions, any feedback, any questions, concerns? I was going fast, I was too slow, it was okay.
I think it was fine, Nikhil. We can looks good to
Okay,
me.
that's fine.
Vijay, how about you? Do you have anything to ask? You're in mute if you're talking.
Yeah, sorry. So I actually did not follow too much, but concept seems to be okay. I understood the processes,
Mhm.
but since I'm
So
new
Vijay,
to the
I
whole
believe
thing,
if yeah, sorry to interrupt Vijay, but I believe if we finally plan to go ahead with the training, if you plan to go ahead with the training, probably we need to sit for at least couple of hours, just you and me, to give you some basics. Because I understand, if you don't have the basics of this, then it would be too fast for you. But whereas if I go with the screen levels and with the basics of this particular warehouse management module, then it would be too slow for everyone else. So what we can plan, Vijay, because I understand and I see that pain.
perfect.
So if we go ahead with the training, you finally decide that you want to go ahead with the training, we can have 1 or 2 day, training plan just for you, uh, just to go through the basic before we actually start with the further training for others. Make sense?
Yeah, totally makes sense. And what timing is that? Is the same time?
Timing, we need to probably do it in the morning if that's fine with you all, because currently I'm working in US shift and mostly I'm working at this particular time.
Yeah, that same thing. Same is the case with me. I prefer, yeah, after hours for US based.
Yeah, so I think you can discuss the timing with Sai. The only concern with me is usually my shift starts at around 2 o'clock in the noon, and it goes till 12:30 in the night. So, yeah, rest you decide whatever suits you. I would say if morning time suits everybody, we can do that. But yeah, you can discuss it with Sai and you can tell that.
So
But
in
if there is
morning,
anything else, yeah, sorry.
what is the time you will be preferred?
Morning, you tell me. I mean, after I believe 8 or 9, any time would be okay for me.
Uh, can we have around 10:30?
I don't mind. I'm fine with that. But
Uh,
like I said, because
for
there are a couple of guys.
10:30 will be
uh,
too late for me.
Yeah, that's what I said. So I believe everybody needs to finalize with one time which suits everybody. So Sai, can you take it up with everyone related to the time? I
yeah, I
think
was about to
something in the
talk.
morning. Yep.
Yeah. I like time part. We'll take it up later. I'll coordinate with you guys and we'll have a time which is suitable for everyone.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, if there is no other question, I want to move on to the last slide just to understand, if you really got what I was trying to explain in the demo. So let's say this is a requirement, business requirement, and customer says, let's say business X is having two production locations in India, and distance between those is around 1200 kilometers, and both are in separate states. Okay, so 1200 kilometers is quite far. So obviously they are now in separate states. They follow different, work culture and all. Now in facility one, they are producing and storing finished goods, but there is no procurement, is happening at this particular location. In facility two, they are procuring raw materials and converting the raw material to semi-finished good, and also selling this raw material or semi-finished good directly to the end customer as FG, as finished good. Whereas same SFG and raw material is being moved to the facility one as well to produce, further finished good, to consume this semi-finished good and raw material and produce the further finished good. And in this facility too, they are not storing any stock in this facility. First of all, just take a minute and try to understand the scenario here. Let me know when you understood the scenario, and then we'll move back. Let me know, guys, once you understood it.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So, first question: how many plants should be created in this case? Give it a try. Obviously, I'm not expecting that you should give the exact solution. Give it a try, and believe me, every solution is good solution. So there are no bad solutions in SAP consulting.
Two
Two
plants
plants.
Okay, and why so?
because these
Because
are
we are
really far, right?
That's right. So there are
we're,
mostly
we're
there are two
lacking.
criterias. Yeah, one criteria is if we have production facilities at both the facilities. Uh, Second is obviously they are too far. So yes, we can have two plans. Again, it completely depends on business requirement. It's a very basic thing, which we are talking. Sometimes business do comes up with some, strange requirements or some, you know, some special requirements, and then we need to figure out the solution accordingly. But yes, that's right, guys. So next is how many warehouses are required in this case?
You can have one.
Okay. So I can have one, or we should only have one, and we should not have more than one,
We
or we can
can.
have more than one.
Yeah, it's up to business again. Like we can create two different warehouse with because the plant are different with different store location. We
Hmm.
can create different warehouse as well.
Okay. Any other guesses, guys? Okay, I'll tell you. So that's right. What you said, it completely depends on business requirement. But here, if you see the second statement, the facility two, they have specifically there. It is mentioned that they are not storing any stock in this facility. At the end, you can see that. So if stock is not being stored in this facility, probably there is no requirement for a warehouse. Like I said, that's not the only solution. There can be multiple solutions as per business requirement. But yes, that's a kind of key point what we need to pick when we are discussing things with business like this one. They are not storing any stock in these facilities, and if still, business says that I do need a warehouse there, then we need to cross question: why do you need a warehouse? When you are not storing anything, then what that warehouse would help you with? So that's right. Next one is, do we need WMPP interface in both the facilities? So
Yeah,
mm,
on the second one. But they are procuring raw material. So I just think like if they are procuring that raw material, they have to place those goods to some bins, right? Some areas to track where they
Hmm.
have placed those for
Yep,
tracking purpose.
that's right.
Otherwise, it's IM inventory management. They cannot track their goods in which bin they located their stock.
That's right. That's right. That's what I said. So, like for warehouses, it completely depends what kind of discussions we have. If business says no, I don't want to track, then yeah, you don't need a warehouse. If they say no, we do need to track, but we will have a fixed bin. Okay, so it's a fixed location for particular material. Then even at IM level, we can have one. It's not a WM concept, but at IM level, we can have a kind of text element which wherein we usually call it as a bin. So we can give that bin to that warehouse, and then physically also we can say this particular location is this particular bin, and then in the reports we can see that bin at IM level also. But that's only text. It doesn't really do anything in the system. Doesn't really help us, but it completely depends on the business requirement. But what about this one, the third one? Do we need WMPP interface
So first,
if we have
if
both
I
the
say
warehouses?
they are
Hmm.
producing and storing the FG, then
Hmm.
in that case need a WMPP interface
Hmm.
as they
And
are
what about
producing.
second
There are
one?
there
No,
are
because they are
production.
procuring the raw material, right?
Hmm.
Okay, and they are also converting a raw material into SFG.
Hmm.
Okay. For both
That's right.
WMPP, because they are converting raw into SFG and selling it out. And for first one,
That's
they
right.
are producing storing. So both WMPP is required, right?
That's
Again,
right.
if they are not storing any stock in this facility, that statement, and they are not
Mhm.
activating W, so
Then
it comes.
obviously they don't need WMPP interface. Yep. It completely depends. So if they don't have a warehouse, there is no WMPP interface. But in that case, they need to have a PP functionality, production functionality. They need to have as a SAP PP module. That still needs to be implemented
Yeah.
because they are changing raw material to SFG. But yeah, interface is not required. That's right. Okay. Do we need shipping areas in both the facilities?
Just shipping it should there.
Yeah. So we do need because in first also we are generating producing FG. So obviously when we are producing FG, we need to ship it to somewhere. Similarly in facility two, we are sending it to customers, so we do need shipping areas. Do we need good receipt areas in both the facilities?
Yes,
Yeah.
Why? We are not procuring anything in facility one. Then why do we need good receipt in facility one?
because once we will produce the material, we will receive, we will
From?
do the GL.
The raw
No, no.
Here we
material
customer FG
from two is coming.
similar, yeah, similar SFG and RR to facility one to further procure
That's
FG.
right.
So
That's
thing.
right. That's right, guys. So I believe you understood what we discussed today, and that's good to know. Okay, guys. So that's it from my side. If you have anything else to discuss to call out right now, I'm all ears. There's nothing to discuss further. I think that's a wrap up. Thanks a lot. I really, it was pleasure talking to you all guys, and it's really good to see that most of you could catch up what I was talking, and you could answer the last business scenario as well. Uh, if we go ahead with the training, and you decide to go ahead with the training, I will surely try to, put in such things in between as well, wherein you need to think as per the business scenario that how this particular thing can be achieved. As per my experience, I'll try to give you some scenarios and we can discuss that. And at the end of this training, we can have one assignment wherein that won't be related to config and all, because that anyways you would be doing parallelly when we would be discussing and getting trained. But that would be more towards the custom logic. So, for example, one of the custom process which I want you to logically think and design an approach or create a kind of FS document so that we can discuss further. Yeah, guys, that's it from my side. Sai, do you want to say anything?
Thank you, Nikhil.
Welcome, guys. Okay, so I'll stop sharing then. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Thanks, Sai. I'll be
Thank
dropping
you.
off now. Have a good night, guys. Bye bye.
Oh, thank you all. I'll coordinate for the timings and I'll come back to you.
Yes, I do let
Perfect.
me know as well.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks, guys. Bye bye.
yeah.